Grace, mercy, and peace are yours from God our Father and from our Lord and our Savior, Jesus Christ. If Jesus is not a supernatural Jesus, then the apostles are right. The people in the desolate place will have to leave Jesus, go into the villages, and buy bread for themselves. If you do not have a supernatural Jesus, then you must go away from him. There are people who call themselves Christians, yea, who call themselves even Lutherans, who try to get by without a supernatural Jesus. They confess that Jesus from Nazareth was an ordinary man like all of the other ordinary men of the earth. The people who claim a natural Jesus must explain why there are accounts of miracles attributed to Jesus in the Gospels. These people who deny a supernatural Jesus often attack the character and reputation of the apostles. The worst ones say that the apostles were liars. They made up the miracles that they say Jesus performed. They invented the story of his resurrection from the dead. They did it because they wanted to associate themselves with a man who was supernatural in order to have a claim for themselves. This is how some people who deny a supernatural Jesus account for the record of the miracles attributed to him. Other people cut the apostles some slack. Other people put a little better construction on the apostles. They will say that at the time of Jesus' death, his apostles were so heartbroken and grief-stricken because they expected him to be the one who would redeem Israel, that they had a common hallucination or a common wish and desire to see him living again. And when the accounts were written down, they were written down with the miracles in them. This is how other people who deny a supernatural Jesus explain the accounts of the miracles in the Gospels. The ones who put the best construction on the apostles are the ones who say that the apostles were simply ancient men. Ancient men had superstitious beliefs. They did not understand the natural laws of the universe like we understand them today. Jesus of Nazareth did a few remarkable things, and they were so remarkable that the apostles could not assign another explanation to them. So in their superstitious ancient minds, they called them miracles. Furthermore, they will say that the apostles did not write the Gospels. Rather, the apostles passed down the stories of Jesus from Nazareth to their heirs. They did it by telling the story aloud. From one generation to another, these people say, the stories were handed down. And just like you people know, when somebody tells a story to another and to another, it eventually becomes distorted. And these people say that a remarkable event in the life of Jesus of Nazareth made its way into a miracle before it was written down. That is how these people who deny that Jesus is supernatural account for the record of the miracles in the Gospels. But when push comes to shove, anybody who denies a supernatural Jesus must eventually send the people away. Whenever anybody who denies a supernatural Jesus finds others in a desolate place, he knows there is no aid for them in Jesus from Nazareth. And so he must send them away. Send them away to others. Send them away to the towns, so that they might buy bread for themselves. May I put it bluntly? The congregations who deny a supernatural Jesus are losing members at a faster rate than the congregations who confess a supernatural Jesus. Let me say that again. The congregations who deny a supernatural Jesus are losing members at a faster rate than the congregations who confess a supernatural Jesus. You may check the statistics. And I believe that the reason that the congregations who confess a supernatural Jesus continue to lose members anyway, though at a slower rate, is because although they confess a supernatural Jesus in their congregation's constitution, they do not believe it in their hearts. And at some point, the members of the congregation will find themselves in a desolate place. And without a supernatural Jesus, they must go away from him, so that they might make provision for themselves. Without a supernatural Jesus, Jesus is not risen from the dead. If miracles do not happen, then Jesus is not risen from the dead. Whether or not you have a supernatural Jesus is inextricably linked to his resurrection from the dead. If you have a risen Jesus, then you have a supernatural one. If you do not have a supernatural one, then you do not have a risen Jesus. And if you do not have a risen Jesus, when you find yourself in the desolate place of death, you will have to go someplace else and make provision for yourselves. But Jesus is risen from the dead. He is the first fruits of them that sleep. The apostles know that if Jesus is not risen from the dead, they will be found to be false witnesses about Jesus, for they have testified that he rose from the dead. The apostles are not liars. They died for their faith in the resurrection of Jesus from the dead. A liar does not die for his lies. A liar fesses up to his lies in order to save his life. All of the apostles, save one, gave their lives rather than to deny that their Lord Jesus Christ rose from the dead. They could not deny what their eyes saw, what their hands had touched. They could not deny the new creation and the new hope that a resurrected Jesus brings. You have a supernatural Jesus. You do not need to go away from him. Think of it. The next time you are at a visitation, or the next time that you attend a funeral, pay attention to the corpse. The funeral director has made the body look good. He has put makeup on the body. He lights the body with certain lights to make the body look natural and asleep. The mouth is sealed shut, else it would hang open. And that is why at visitations you hear people file past the body and comment to themselves or to their spouse, he sure looks good. In fact, some funeral directors are so good that they look better there, than they did a few days before. But it's a cover-up. It's a corpse. If it weren't for the fact that the mouth was sealed shut, it would hang open. If it weren't for the makeup and the lights, it would be white. If it were not for the embalming fluid, it would already be rotting away by the time we got to the service, that is what Jesus raises from the dead. You look at that body. It's coming back to life. If that's a believer in Jesus, it will rise unto glory and power. It will rise unto righteousness and everlasting life. And if Jesus can do that, He can do anything. Jesus Himself was a corpse. Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus took His body down from the cross, wrapped it in linens, and laid it in a tomb. Rigor mortis was setting in as they laid the body of Jesus in a tomb. I remember when I was a little boy, Grandma Kenning's visitation. Pastor Hoffman came in. He went up to the casket and he laid his hand on Grandma's hands. You know, I've never touched a dead body. And to see Pastor do that that's kind of strange. And pastors who have that as their practice have told me it's like grabbing wood. This is what your Lord raises from the dead. This is what your Lord was. He was in the tomb 3 days. And He rose from the dead. You have a supernatural Jesus. You do not need to go away from Him. And folks, if Jesus is risen from the dead, and if Jesus raises the dead, then all of the other miracles are child's play. All bets are off as to what God can do as soon as Jesus is risen from the dead. I remember two pastors having an argument about Jonah. And one pastor said, the book of Jonah records important and significant events in the prophet's life. And the other pastor said, no, the book of Jonah is a parable. And the reason that the pastor who said that the book of Jonah was a parable was because the pastor could not accept the fact that a man was in the belly of a great fish for 3 days and 3 nights. That was unbelievable to him. Not even God could do it, apparently. And so the book of Jonah has to be a parable. And the other pastor insisted, no, we have an almighty God. He raises the dead. He can do anything. If He can do anything, you can have a guy in the belly of the great fish for 3 days and 3 nights. And back and forth they went until the pastor, who confessed the truth of the life of Jonah, eventually asked the pastor who believed that it was a parable, hey, do you believe that Jesus rose from the dead? The pastor who confessed the truth of miracles was concerned about the everlasting salvation of the pastor who insisted that Jonah was a parable. So he asked him, do you believe Jesus from Nazareth rose from the dead? And the guy who believed that Jonah was just a parable said, yes, I believe that Jesus from Nazareth rose from the dead. And the pastor who confessed the truth of the book of Jonah was comforted that the other guy was at least saved. But then he went home and told his wife what had happened. And his wife said, hey, wait a second. He believes that a dead guy came back to life, but he doesn't believe a guy could be in the belly of a great fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Is that just too ludicrous for him? You see? Do you see? If Jesus raises the dead and is risen from the dead, walking on water, that's easy. Commanding in the wind and the waves, here, I'll show you, I'll do it. Healing the sick, casting out the demons, purifying the lepers, making the lame walk, He does it all. And furthermore, the miracles of the Old Testament are possible, including Jonah in the belly of the great fish, including Balaam having conversation with his donkey, and including the whole creation coming into being in 6 days. It is all possible. Because Jesus is risen from the dead. You have a supernatural Jesus. You do not need to go away from Him. So when you are in the desolate places, in the desolate places of your sin, in the desolate places of your shame or your guilt, yea, if you are in the desolate place of need and even death, you do not need to go away from Him. In the name of Jesus.